Hi again, everybody. This is Hank Zona of the Grapes Unwrapped. This is not comedians in cars going for coffee. It's kind of more like regular guy in cars having a glass of wine. I'm up here in the beautiful Lake Apacon, gorgeous summer morning. And producer Mike said I've got my friend Carl who has these incredibly beautiful cars. And this is incredibly beautiful. This is a 1930 Model A Ford Roadster. It's a 3-speed transmission. It does not come with navigation system, and well, the navigation system is we got to look out the windshield here and use this cool rear view mirror right on the spare tire. It retailed for probably a little bit under $400 back then, which I guess you could say is quite a deal. You know, Carl has cared for these beautiful cars, and this thing started up this morning like that. And I guess, you know, the analogy I want to make, as I always bring things back around to wine, is that these cars are both really require care, but there's also a real durability and strength to them as well. And I think that's we could talk about wine and you know, how to handle wine. And wine is both a very durable product and one that requires some little bit extra special care sometimes than we realize. So that's some of the things we're going to run through here. So I pull a bottle of wine out of my cellar, I bring it home from the store. I want to drink it. I open it nice and carefully, make sure that the cork is nice and clean. There's no mold, there's no spoilage. And this, you know, this wine I happen to bring along is 2009. So it's a Bordeaux. I wanted to open up a little bit. I want to make sure I get a nice sized glass, or I might want to decant it. I might take a pitcher or a decanter and pour it into there first. The simple act of pouring a glass of wine is starting the aeration process. Aeration means you just want to have as much air in contact with as much surface of the wine. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to open up that cork and just let the wine breathe. If you look at the top of that bottle, that's about the size of a dime. And honestly, that's not a whole lot of breathing room, and that's not a lot of air contact with the surface of the wine. So really the simplest and best way to aerate a wine is to open it and pour it into a glass or pour it into a pitcher or decanter. That gives the maximum contact. You also don't want to pour too much into a glass. I was just at a fancy old resort in Asheville having a glass of wine, and I can just picture cars like this pulling up to the front door back in the day. And you know, they offered a 9-ounce pour for a glass of wine, which is kind of ridiculous. That's like a big gulp. You know, I kind of laughed. That's like the big gulp of wine. When you're pouring in your glass of wine, you want to kind of go right up to that curve, right about there. You know, people want more wine, that's great. You can always pour more wine for yourself, but you don't want to overfill the glass because you want to be able to get a good sense of that scent, get good flavor. No reason to overfill the glass. So again, just that simple act that I just did of pouring that wine into the glass is aeration. I can let this older wine sit in this glass for a little while. I can let it sit there for a few minutes. I can enjoy it over time. I can let it sit in a glass or in that decanter or pitcher for a half hour, an hour. It will change, it will open up more, just like taking this beautiful car out for a spin after it's been kind of closed up in the garage for a while. Helps to open it up and air it out. It really maximizes the beauty of it. First thing I want to talk about is temperature. We really serve our white wines in this country too cold and our red wines too warm. So it's important to have the proper temperature. It's okay to have a little bit of a chill on a red wine. They should not be tepid. They should not be at room temperature, especially this time of the year. Another important aspect is storage. Again, wine should be stored in the dark. They should be stored on their side. They should be stored not necessarily in the cool climate, but you don't want to have a very changeable climate. So you don't want to have high heat. You don't want to have real changeability in the temperature. Other important aspect of handling wine is really using good glassware and good aeration. Older wines need to be, just like older cars need to be taken out every now and then for a spin, you know, to really kind of air them out, so to speak. You know, an older wine needs to be aerated. We talk about decanting. Just pouring wine into a glass is the first act of aeration. I'm not a real stickler for using all kinds of fancy, expensive glassware. I use really all-purpose glassware in my house all the time. But it's nice to pour something out, especially if it's older. Let it get some air. Let it be out for a little while. That really helps to open it up. So, you know, we're not talking about going through lots of steps. When Carl took this car out from the garage today, he had it, you know, his garage, he had it nice and covered. This thing started up right away. Just driving it around, you can hear how the engine starts to open up and how it just rides a lot more smoothly. And same thing with your old glass of wine. If you're opening up an old bottle of wine, just pouring that out, decanting it, having it in the glass for a while, really opens it up, and you really get to see the charms and the beauty of it, just like we have with this Model A Roadster. So this is a fantastic car. It's just a beautiful car, and it's kind of a great morning. It's actually fun to be here at something that is such an incredible piece of history, and hopefully a nice way to use an analogy on how to take better care of the wine that you drink. This is Hank Zona, the Grapes Unwrapped. Cheers.